They say moments that change your life come quietly. But sometimes they come like a storm, unexpected, loud, and hard to explain. It was a Tuesday morning that smelled like rain and unfinished dreams. The kind of morning where the clouds hang low and the world feels too tired to pretend it's okay. On that street corner in Greenville, South Carolina, with the pavement still wet from the night before, a 17-year-old boy waited. He wasn't waiting for a bus. He was waiting for the world to give him a chance. His name was Malik Carter. And this is how everything began. Malik was used to being invisible. That's how the world treated kids from his side of town, seen only when it was convenient, heard only when it could be twisted. Every morning, he walked the same broken sidewalk past the same broken fences with the same silent prayer in his heart. Let today be better than yesterday. He had dreams, big ones, fixing engines, building machines, creating things that worked because so much around him didn't. He believed in the kind of future he hadn't seen yet, but he could feel it, somewhere just beyond the smoke and silence of his neighborhood. His mom worked nights at the hospital. His dad, well, he hadn't seen his dad since he was 9. That left Malik to figure out most things on his own. He knew how to cook, how to fix small engines, and how to navigate a world that treated his black skin like a warning sign. He also knew how to jump a car battery. That was something. So he carried a pair of jumper cables in his backpack, because when you can't get hired, you hustle. And when the world closes doors, you build your own.
Across town, the streets told a different story. Tall gates. Clean driveways. Houses so big they swallowed the trees around them. In this world, everything smelled like new money and old pride. And inside one of those houses, standing in front of her luxury sports car, Veronica Langston muttered a curse. Her Porsche wouldn't start. The irony wasn't lost on her. She was due at a charity brunch about empowering the underserved, and now she was stranded in her driveway, phone in one hand, coffee in the other, anger tightening in her chest. She was used to control. In her business, real estate development, control was currency. You controlled land, people, and perception. And when something didn't go her way, she paid someone to fix it. But this morning, the tow service said 90 minutes. Her assistant was stuck in traffic. And her husband? Too busy golfing. Veronica was successful. Sharp. Unapologetic. She'd worked her way to the top in a world full of men who thought she should smile more and talk less. She didn't trust easily. And she sure as hell didn't accept help from strangers. Until that stranger walked by. Malik had crossed into the richer side of town. He didn't belong there, and he felt it with every step. The air was different. The glances sharper. The silence louder. Then he saw her. A woman standing beside a silver Porsche, hood up, frustration painting her face. He saw the problem immediately. The dome lights were on, but the engine wouldn't turn over. Classic dead battery. He knew he should keep walking. But something pulled him toward her, something that sounded like his mother's voice in the back of his head, help anyway. Even when they don't expect it from you. Especially then. So he took a breath. Made sure both hands were visible. No sudden moves. And approached. "Excuse me, ma'am," he said, his voice calm, even soft. "Looks like you got a dead battery." "I got cables. I could help if you want." Veronica flinched. Her first instinct was to step back. Lock the door. Say no. He saw the flicker of fear in her eyes, just for a second, but it was enough to burn. "I'm fine," she snapped. "I already called someone." Malik didn't move. He just nodded. "All right. Thought I'd offer." He turned to walk away. But she hesitated. Because something about his voice didn't match what she'd assumed. Something about the calmness in his eyes, the softness in his tone. He wasn't threatening. He wasn't even trying to push. He was just human. "Wait," she called out. He turned. Do you really know what you're doing? He smirked, just a little. Ma'am, I could jump a battery in my sleep. It should have been a simple thing, connecting the cables, revving the engine, getting her on the road. But life has a way of complicating even the simplest acts of kindness. As he popped her hood and connected the clamps, a black SUV rolled to a slow stop across the street. A sheriff's deputy. Watching. Windows down. Radio crackling. Malik's hands froze mid-air. He didn't look at the officer. Didn't give him a reason. Veronica noticed the tension too. She glanced from Malik to the cruiser, then back at the boy helping her. For the first time, she wondered, what would this look like if I didn't know what was happening? Two strangers. One rich white woman. One young black man with his hands near her engine. What if she had screamed? What if he had run? What if no one had asked questions? That thought stuck in her throat like a stone. Malik stepped back. All right, go ahead and start it. She turned the key. The engine coughed. Then roared to life. He smiled. She stared at him. And in that moment, something shifted, not just between them, but deep inside her. If this story touched you even a little, please support by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Stories like these need to be heard. The engine hummed like a second chance. Veronica sat behind the wheel, her fingers still wrapped tight around the key, the sound of her revived Porsche filling the driveway. But her eyes weren't on the dashboard. They were on him. On this boy who had no reason to help her, but did anyway. On the quiet way he moved, the confidence of his hands, the calm in his voice. She stepped out of the car, brushing imaginary lint from her coat. She didn't know what to say. Gratitude didn't come easily to her, especially not when it came wrapped in something unexpected. You said your name was. I didn't, Malik said. But it's Malik. Malik, she repeated, like she was trying to make the sound fit in her mouth. How old are you? 17. She looked at him again. Noticed how his jacket had a patch sewn onto the sleeve. Noticed how the cuffs were a little worn. His shoes were clean, but not expensive. His backpack slouched on one shoulder, and from the bulge in the side pocket, she guessed those jumper cables lived in there permanently. You do this for a living? She asked, the question slipping out half curious, half suspicious. No, Malik said. Just helping people when I can. Sometimes they pay. Sometimes they don't. She reached into her purse again. Another 20. He hesitated. Veronica noticed. It's just a thank you. I know, he said. But it's okay. You're not going to take it. He shook his head slowly. You already gave me something. She frowned. What did I give you? He smiled softly. A chance. That answer struck her harder than it should have. Malik turned to leave. But her voice stopped him. Wait. He turned, eyebrows raised slightly. You said you want to help people, she said, fumbling over the words. What do you want to do? I mean, with your life. The question felt strange in her mouth, too vulnerable. But she couldn't help it. Something about this boy made her want to know more. Malik shrugged, shifting on his feet. Build stuff. Fix things. Engineering, probably. I like making broken stuff work again. That answer lodged itself in her chest like a quiet ache. She was used to polished resumes and Ivy League ambition. But this? This was raw. Real. Are you in school? Yeah. Last year of high school. And college? Trying, he said. Saving up. Veronica's jaw clenched. She didn't know why that answer frustrated her. Maybe because it reminded her how many doors money opened. Doors this boy would have to kick just to peek through. Well, she said finally, thank you again, Malik. He nodded, offered a polite smile, and walked away, back down the street, jumper cables swinging at his side like a badge of honor. That night, Veronica sat in her dining room alone. The lights were low. The wine was untouched. The house was quiet in that echoing way only big houses get. She should have forgotten him by now. But something about the moment, the tension, the hesitation, the way he looked at her after helping, kept replaying. She thought about how quick she was to assume. How fast her hand went to the door lock. How easily she'd almost ignored him. And how wrong she was. 2 days later, she called her assistant. Look up a boy named Malik Carter. 17. Lives near East Oak Ridge. See what you can find. There was a pause. Do you want a background check? Veronica hesitated. No. Just, find out if he's in school. And if he has college plans. Meanwhile, back on the east side, Malik was helping his neighbor Ms. Jefferson lift groceries from her trunk. He didn't know anything had changed. He wasn't looking for anything to change. But change, as always, doesn't ask for permission. It just comes. And when it does, it leaves nothing the same. 3 days later. A black sedan pulled up outside Malik's school. It was a strange sight, clean, foreign, out of place. Malik noticed it from the stairs. He'd just finished lunch and was walking back to class when the door opened. Veronica stepped out. She looked out of place in the sea of teenagers, but she stood tall, elegant, unapologetic. Malik blinked. Ms. Langston. She smiled slightly. Did I pronounce that right? He nodded slowly. Yeah, what are you doing here? I asked your school if we could talk. They said it's fine. If you're okay with it. He looked around. A few heads had turned. Whispers were starting. Yeah. Sure. We can talk. They found a bench under the old oak tree behind the library. The shade was cool. The silence was thick. I've been thinking about you, she said finally. Malik tilted his head slightly. Why? Because you helped me. Not just with my car. You made me realize how quick I am to judge people. Even when I don't mean to. He stayed quiet. I want to fix that, she added. And I want to help you, too. Malik frowned. Help me how? I run a scholarship foundation. It's not public. It's private, something I started years ago. I want to offer you a full scholarship. The words hung in the air like disbelief. Malik blinked. You serious? She nodded. But, why? Because you deserve it, she said. Because you're smart. And because maybe helping someone should go both ways. If this story touched you even a little, please support by liking, sharing, and subscribing. These are the stories that can open hearts and shift minds. Malik didn't say a word the whole walk home. The paper in his hand felt heavier than it should have, the official scholarship form Veronica had handed him under that oak tree. Full ride. Room. Board. Books. Everything covered. For most people, it would have been a dream come true. But dreams don't come easy on his side of town. And nothing comes free. His mother, Carla Carter, was chopping onions in the kitchen when he walked in. The smell of stew filled the air, rich, warm, comforting. She looked up, instantly noticing the tension in his shoulders. You all right, baby? Malik didn't answer right away. He just handed her the paper. She dried her hands and took it, eyes scanning quickly. Then slower. Then she sat down. Who gave you this? Remember the lady I helped? Dead battery? This is from her. Carla looked at the paper again. Then at her son. And something about her expression shifted. Not joy. Not shock. Worry. You don't think this is too good to be true? Malik sighed. I don't know. You sure she don't want something in return? He bristled a little. She didn't ask for anything. She said I deserve it. His mom was silent for a long time. Then she leaned back, eyes still on the paper. You know how the world sees you. You know how they treat us. Sometimes folks offer a hand, but they expect you to kneel before you take it. Malik felt that in his chest. He sat across from her. I didn't ask her for anything. I just helped her. That's all. I know, Carla said. That's who you are. But we've lived long enough to know help doesn't always come clean. That night, Malik lay in bed staring at the ceiling. He thought about everything, the way Veronica's voice changed when she talked to him the second time. The way her eyes softened. The way she sat beside him like she wasn't above him anymore. And he thought about his mother's voice, too. The way she said, be careful. The way life had taught her not to trust generosity unless it had strings attached. And that's when the doubt crept in. What if this wasn't about helping him? What if he was just her guilt project? What if he was just a good story she could tell at her next brunch? Meanwhile, across town, Veronica sat in her home office staring at a folder on her desk. Malik Carter. She had it there, his grades, his background, the letter from his principal. All glowing. All clean. No red flags. No criminal record. Not even a tardy in his file. Still, she could feel something unsettled inside her. She'd offered the scholarship with the best intentions. But now? Now she wondered if she'd done it for him, or for herself. Her friends didn't help. You're giving him a scholarship, one of them had asked. Why not just donate to a school? Another chimed in. You sure this isn't some guilt thing? From how you treated him. Veronica had defended herself. Out loud. But silently. She wasn't so sure. 2 days passed. No word from Malik. No response to her texts. On the third day, she drove back to East Oak Ridge, parked a few streets down from the community center, and waited. She saw him coming before he saw her, backpack slung over his shoulder, headphones in, hands in his jacket pocket. She stepped out of the car. He stopped cold. Hey, she said, a little out of breath. Malik pulled his headphones down. Didn't expect to see you here. I didn't hear from you. He nodded. I know. A pause. Can we talk? He looked around. Then pointed to a low wall near the fence. There. They sat in silence for a while. She finally said, You don't want the scholarship, do you? I didn't say that. Then what's stopping you? He looked her straight in the eyes. Why me? She blinked. Why not you? I'm serious, he said, his voice low. You could have picked anyone. But you picked me. And I need to know if that's because I helped you, or because you felt bad for what you thought of me before that. The question stung. Because it was true. And she didn't have an answer ready. I don't know, she said honestly. Maybe both. Malik nodded slowly. That's what I thought. But does it matter, she asked quietly. If the end result is the same? He looked at her. I think it does. That moment sat between them like a mirror. Both of them forced to look at things they hadn't wanted to see. Veronica saw the pride in him. The quiet dignity. The unwillingness to be pitted. And Malik saw something too. He saw a woman trying, not perfectly, not gracefully, but trying. And sometimes, that was enough. He stood up. Took a deep breath. I'll take it, he said. But not because I need saving. You don't, she said softly. I'm taking it because I earned it. She nodded. You did. And this time, when they shook hands, there was no wall between them. Just two people, different, flawed, human, trying to figure out what it means to care. If you're still with us, please support by liking, sharing, and subscribing. We need more stories that shine light where the world tries to keep it dark. The lights in the ballroom were soft and golden, casting gentle shadows across white linen tablecloths and polished silver. Strings played low in the background, a piano trailed quietly behind. Laughter bubbled from one corner, glasses clinked in another. This was not Malik's world. Not even close. He stood near the back of the room, his shirt pressed, jacket borrowed, shoes freshly cleaned, but still, he felt the eyes. Not hateful. Not angry. But curious. Watching. Like he was a guest in a museum exhibit. The exception. The inspiration. Veronica noticed it too. She'd seen it before, the way rich people could turn people into trophies, stories into performances. She hadn't meant for this night to feel that way, but the atmosphere was unmistakable. She watched Malik fidget near the door, and for the first time in weeks, she worried again that she'd overstepped. The host stepped onto the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we celebrate promise. We celebrate the power of opportunity. And we celebrate the young men and women who remind us that the future is already here. Polite applause. And tonight, we have with us a young man who has earned not just our respect, but our support. Please welcome this year's special recipient of the Langston Foundation Scholarship. Mr. Malik Carter. The room clapped. Some genuinely. Some cautiously. Malik walked to the stage slowly. His heart thundered in his chest. He didn't belong here. Not really. Not yet. Maybe never. But as he reached the mic, he looked out over the room, and something inside him clicked. He'd walked past locked car doors. He'd been followed in stores. He'd been ignored in classrooms and judged before he opened his mouth. But tonight? Tonight, they would hear him. Good evening, he began, his voice a little shaky. I'm Malik Carter. I'm 17. I'm from East Oak Ridge, Ann. I guess I'm the person y'all didn't expect to see up here. A few nervous chuckles. I helped someone a few weeks ago. Her car wouldn't start. I had jumper cables. That's all. Nothing special. I didn't save her life. I didn't do anything crazy. I just helped. He paused. But what happened after that changed mine. You could hear a pin drop. She offered me a scholarship. Not because I begged. Not because I was on the news. But because I showed up. Because I tried to do the right thing. He took a breath. But that moment also reminded me how the world sees people like me. Before she even opened the window, she looked scared. Before I even spoke, I was judged. Not because I did something wrong. But because I was born into a body that makes people uncomfortable. A stir in the room now. Some eyes dropped. Some backs straightened. I'm not here to shame anybody. I'm here to remind you that your fear doesn't define me. Your guilt doesn't save me. And your money doesn't own me. A long pause. I'm here because I worked hard. I'm here because I care. And yeah, I'm here because someone saw past their own prejudice long enough to let me help them. Then he looked at Veronica. And because she chose to grow. He stepped back from the mic. Applause. Slow at first. Then stronger. But not unanimous. As Malik walked back to his seat, a voice rang out, clear, male, arrogant. Sounds nice, but there are hundreds of kids with better scores and real recommendations. How do we know this isn't just a PR move? The room stiffened. Malik stopped in his tracks. Veronica stood. And her voice didn't shake. You don't, she said calmly. You don't know. But let me tell you what I do. All eyes turn to her. I've spent my life surrounded by money. Surrounded by power. And I've given scholarships to more than 70 students over the years. Some of them went to Ivy League schools. Some of them faded away. But Malik? He helped me when I didn't deserve his kindness. She walked forward slowly. And for the first time in my life, I didn't just give an opportunity. I understood it. Because he didn't need my help. I needed his. Silence. She turned to Malik. You deserve this. Not because of what you did for me, but because of what you stand for. The man who questioned it didn't speak again. After the event, as the guests filtered out into the cool night air, Veronica found Malik leaning against the railing outside the ballroom. He was quiet. Calm. You okay? She asked. He nodded. I didn't think I'd say all that. I'm glad you did. He looked at her. You really meant it? What you said? She smiled. Every word. Malik let out a long breath. Feels weird. Being seen. You've always been visible, she said. They just refused to look. That night, Malik walked home under a sky full of stars. He didn't take a ride. He didn't call anyone. He just walked. Because for the first time in his life, he wasn't running from something. He was walking toward it. If this story moved you even a little, please show your support by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Because the world doesn't change with silence, it changes with stories like these. Fall came like a whisper. The air turned crisp, the leaves began to curl at the edges, and the days shortened like they were tired of stretching so far. On the campus of Jackson Tech University, students moved like rivers, fast, purposeful, full of direction. Among them, Malik Carter walked. Backpack on. Hoodie zipped. Books in his hand. A slow, steady smile on his face. Not because everything was perfect. But because, for once, he belonged. College was never promised to Malik. It was a dream, sure. But dreams on his side of town were treated like graffiti, colorful, wild, and constantly at risk of being painted over. But now he was here. Learning. Thinking. Building. Unfolding. He had a small dorm room with a squeaky bed. A roommate who played loud music. A part-time job in the engineering lab fixing old 3D printers. And he loved every second of it. Some nights he'd sit by the window with his headphones in, watching the lights flicker from the library across campus and whisper to himself, "You made it." But that wasn't all. Every Sunday, he called his mom. She didn't always say it, but he could hear the pride in her voice. And every first Monday of the month, he sent a message to someone he never thought he'd ever call a friend. Veronica Langston. She smiled when she saw his name light up her phone screen. They had fallen into a quiet rhythm now. No more charity. No more proving anything. Just updates. Truth. Respect. And sometimes, healing. Because Veronica had changed too. After the banquet, something inside her refused to go back to sleep. She started visiting East Oakridge once a month. Not just to donate, but to listen. To ask questions. To show up. At first, it felt like she didn't belong. But she kept coming. And slowly, the walls around her started to crack. One afternoon, Malik came back home for a short weekend visit. He passed by the corner store, nodded at the barber shop owner, and saw Ms. Jefferson watering her plants. Nothing had changed. And yet, everything had. Kids from the neighborhood started asking him about college. Parents waved at him. His high school teacher invited him to speak at career day. But the real moment came when a boy, maybe 12, hoodie too big, eyes sharp, walked up to him near the bus stop. "You the one that helped that rich lady, right?" Malik smiled. I guess so. You think she'd help me too? Malik crouched a little, looked him in the eye. I think you're gonna help yourself first. And if someone comes along who believes in you, don't be scared to let them. The boy nodded. My mama says don't trust people like that. She's not wrong, Malik said. But sometimes people surprise you. The boy looked confused. Then hopeful. Then he walked away. Later that evening, Veronica met Malik at the community center. She had traded her heels for sneakers. No makeup. Just her and a tote bag filled with notebooks and flyers for a new mentorship program she was funding. I'm not trying to be a savior, she said. I'm just trying to open the doors I didn't realize were locked. Malik nodded. Good. She handed him one of the flyers. You think they'll come? Malik looked around the room, the same one where he'd once fixed Ms. Jefferson's lawnmower, the same one where hope always felt just out of reach. They'll come, he said. But only if they see someone they trust standing in the doorway. She looked at him. So, that's you. He smiled. That's us. 6 months later. Veronica gave a talk at a tech summit. Big crowd. Bright stage. She told the story of the boy who helped her. Of the dead battery. Of the judgment she carried without even realizing it. And how that moment didn't just change him. It changed her. The crowd stood when she finished. Not for the speech. But for the truth. Malik graduated 3 years later, engineering degree in hand, job offer from a leading automotive company, and plans to launch his own nonprofit in East Oak Ridge. He called it Spark. A mentorship and technical training center for kids who needed someone to believe in them before the rest of the world did. At the launch event, Veronica stood quietly in the back. She didn't want to take the stage. But Malik pulled her forward. None of this happens without her, he said to the crowd. Not because she saved me. But because she saw me. The room went silent. Then erupted. And somewhere in the middle of it all, Veronica wiped a tear from her cheek. For once, it wasn't guilt. It was grace. They say moments that change your life come quietly. But sometimes. They come in the form of a dead car battery. A stranger with cables. A second chance. And 2 people, on opposite sides of a street, deciding that maybe, the world doesn't have to stay divided forever. If this story moved you, even for just a moment, please like, share, and subscribe. Let this message travel farther than hate ever could. Let it remind the world that kindness, dignity, and truth still matter. Thank you for listening.